Hi, and welcome to Verse Virtual's monthly poetry reading and open mic. It's great to see you. Today, we have two wonderful features, Sonia Greenfield and Doug Anderson, um, for one reading only today. And we're so glad to have them and our wonderful open mic, which I think at this point is full already unless somebody backs out. So I will introduce our first reader, who is Doug Anderson, as soon as I dig up the introduction. Doug Anderson's most recent book, Undressed, She Said, was published by Four Way Books. He has received awards from the NEA, the Massachusetts Cultural Council, Poets and Writers, the Massachusetts Artists Foundation, the Virginia Quarterly Review, and others. His first book, The Moon Reflected Fire, won the Kate Tufts Discovery Award, and his second, Blues for Unemployed Secret Police, a grant from the Eric Matthew King Fund of the Academy of American Poets. His third book, Horse Medicine, was published by Barrow Street Press in 2015, and his memoir, Keep Your Head Down, was published by W.W. Norton in 2009. He's taught in the Pacific University of Oregon and Bennington College MFA programs and Smith and Emerson colleges. He lives in Ashfield, Massachusetts. Take it away.
Hi, Robbi. Thanks for the intro. Can you give me a 2-minute warning so I don't go over? I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will try to remember to do that, and just in case, perhaps Jim can help me out with that.
Super.
Since,
Thank you.
yeah.
How many minutes?
15.
15 minutes, 2-minute warning.
Okay, I'm on it.
Okay. Smoke. There was always smoke. Smoke in the bars, at parties. How an earring was a star in the murk, bright eyes burning through. We sucked it up, the smoke. It was fuel. How a cigarette would be the final boundary between caution and kiss, stubbed out in the ashtray, and then she led me to her bed. Always smoke. And then the yellow smoke grenade flung to mark the landing zone for the medevac, billowing up from the green. There was pot, a blue haze of smoke above the demonstration. Joyce flashed her tits at the cops on horseback, glided forward, and stroked the horse's neck. So many remembered from the haze of it all, heart full of the dead. I even missed the loves gone bad because they offset the light I drank down finally to live. One can't be without the other. I'm told cremation makes smoke and it's PC to be buried under a tree, but I'm sentimental about my smoke. Let me be a cloud. Carnival. See them moving through ground fog like fly casters wading against the stream, the moon rolling with them in the spun glass of it. Old trucks offload beams, chains, and cable. Bacon fries somewhere near. A flashlight moves as if by itself, lights a featureless face, a hand, headlights on, then off, and someone whistling a half note flat, the awful warbling kind in this pre-dawn fog. A lost bird keening. I follow a cigarette through this gloom and then hear a shout. The circle of lights of the Ferris wheel blooms in a honey swatch of sky. Someone tests the motor. Empty seats rock, and at the very top, A woman, her long hair blowing near the lethal gears, unconcerned, looks east as if for someone who didn't show. I smell cotton candy, see folks top the hill and come down, a small dog running in and out, and then my own dogs startle me. I look out the window, nothing, gone, like so much else, just gone. Wedding. They come from everywhere, arguing in cars, unrumpling themselves from airplane seats. One couple married 30 years scarcely speak to each other. Kids, faces lit with iPads or phones, people covertly texting lovers. The groom allows no alcohol. The wife's family grumble, hide pints in the car. The pastor is perfect, testimonials short and funny, warned ahead of time not to use words like butt plug. The bride and groom, who've been living together long enough to get over lust, doing their best to look innocent and virginal, but there's a tribal agreement that all should go well. A wish that in spite of all the brokenness, at least these two will find happiness, contentment, le bonheur. At the reception, everyone loosens up, although there's disagreement about keeping the lights on or off during the dancing. The groom will keep quiet about the boozy bridesmaid who stuck her tongue in his mouth, but will remember it until his dying day. Afterwards, as they send them off, tin cans or not, garters or bouquets flung or not, they share an image of a great ship being launched, tiered decks lined with cheering people, foghorns blaring as it glides into the fickle sea, and not one of them thinks Titanic. Paramnesia. There was no war. We did not kill. Our tanks did not tear up their rice fields. He did not bleed out in spite of my efforts. It never happened. Old men sat in front of their hooches, rolled a cigarette, and watched the light move across the paddy. A child rode the water buffalo home, tapping its flank with a stick. Farmers stopped in their fields, leaned on hoes, and sang Cadow. There were no layers of dead below the earth, Vietnamese, Chinese, French, American. No tiger cages on Kan San Island. None of this ever happened. Instead, we all swam in the warm salt sea offshore near Kim San Mountain, the waves green, backlit by the sun. When the war was over, the streets were suddenly empty. One by one, they began to come out of where they'd hidden. They dipped their ladles and said, "This is water." They looked around them and said, "This is silence." They listened and said, "They are gone." Some of the men came home, some did not. To this day, their wives wander in the fields looking for a sign, a belt buckle, a letter, a shirt, with a man's name sewn in the collar. The trees filled with monkeys. Even the tigers came down from the mountains and lay in the sun. The old woman who had seen other wars wobblingly mounted her bicycle. They began to put their country back together, plowed the fields torn up by tanks, opened shops. All over the country, hands reached out and held other hands. Someone began to sing. I was in a poetry festival in El Salvador a few decades ago, and um, This is a poem in the form of a letter that I wrote to Martina Spalletta about that experience. Letter to Martina Spalletta. Dear Martine, in Isalco, while Christ waits for Easter in his glass tomb in the cathedral, a single long note is blown on a trumpet in El Parque Central. Los perros flacos forage at the feet of la gente. Los poetas mount the stage in a shower of rose petals thrown by old ladies. The mayor opens his arms wide. In the audience are campesinos, hijitos, shopkeepers, viejos, the town trauma surgeon, and a generous contingent of la policía con pistolas, escopetas y M16s. Solamente el volcán duerme esta noche. Los perros flacos jump into the big blue garbage cans. Martine, you will certainly believe this. Each poeta is introduced with the fireworks rocket. Los perros flacos jump out of the big blue garbage cans. Poets de Argentina, Taiwan, Guatemala, España, Peru, Nicaragua, France, Costa Rica, Brazil, Venezuela, Chile, y los Estados Unidos open their mouths. Out come pájaros, serpientes y duendes, hombres, mujeres y alquimistas with flasks of ether. Out come revolutionaries in diapers, ambassadors in limousines of obsidian, the Virgin in a Madonna t-shirt, y los indios with flutes made of thigh bones and bombs made of skulls. Out come the dead dictators chained together by ectoplasm, swinging censors that emit the stink of money. Priests with rifles, nuns with giant beasts whose names are forgotten, hidden in the musk of their habits. Out come conquistadores on roller skates, moros in black on black motorcycles, Mad Max with tattoos of La Mara Salvatruce. When Los Poetas have finished, there are more fireworks. They are swarmed by hijitos, viejos, y otros wanting autographs. Their hands are soft as their hearts. Death does not hide here, but lives among them, dressed in white lace with earrings rattling on her skull. Life does not hide here, but steps through irony as if it were a vanishing fog. All over town. I am aware that at this hour, in houses and apartments all around me, people are stepping into their showers. I make the water hotter as I grow used to it, steam rising around me, soothing me, clearing my nostrils. I reach for the soap and lather myself, wash my scant hair behind my ears, remembering my grandmother long ago scrubbing me as if I were a burnt pot. But I'm gentle now, knowing the hurt places I've gathered. I tune myself to a lover's hands, remember the last woman who was good at it. All over town, people are being tender with themselves in this hour between waking and dressing, before putting on the gang face to go to work, chasing away whatever wisps of dreams might be hanging on. I feel for scars above my eyebrows from fighting, the ridge of my twice broken nose, the side of my face where they dug out the big chunk of cancer, and the long suture marks on my neck where they took the graft to plug it. My throat, a broken cathedral organ of backed up love. My ailing left shoulder, my once proud chest, moving on down to the love handles, to the gut, beneath which hide the ribbed muscles. The fading burns on my hands, the pitted flesh from the bullet fragments, now mostly covered with tattoo. My shop-worn cock and my balls hanging all day in the dark by themselves, scheming. My disintegrating right knee, torn ligaments of the other leg, down toward the feet, almost crushed now under the weight of a life. For a moment at this hour, perhaps we are all this way. It makes me sad that we are alone in this holy of holies, grieving the failing flesh beneath which death sits in her carriage, loosely holding the reins.
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay. I wrote a poem this morning. They say never read at a reading a poem that you've written that morning, but I'm going to do it. The Great Anonymity. We all look alike, gray, fading, how we seem molecularly to decompose, become one with the wall, the air, the landscape. All around me is the temporary immortality of youth. There is such joy, and who wants to read poetry by or about us? Who wants to hear us talk to death with her glimmering nose ring? My mother used to say, we live too long, and now I understand her. What's left in these last years? Where is the spiritual wisdom from being so long steeped in life, the peace of mind? Where is something luminous enough to replace young love? I am no longer tempted to backslide into the delusion market, prepared for us by advertising. The most disgusting is silver. Happy old folks playing shuffleboard, big grins from expensive dental work, vapid vacations on cruise ships and the pure sands of the Caribbean. What about the poor old, sitting in their underwear on fire escapes in the heat of a city summer, kids below frolicking in the gush from an open fire plug? What about old poets who write of things no young person wants to hear about? Death drops by for coffee. Thought I'd check in, she says. Ashes or fertilizing the manicured cemetery lawn, give or take some embalming fluids. The crematorium hatch opens and it looks like the corpse is sliding on rollers into the biblical hell. A tree, I tell her. I want to fertilize its roots. How's that done? She gives me a phone number. Now, I say to death, fuck off and leave me this one more day. She grins and gives me a big sloppy kiss. Yes, dear, it's the carnal stuff I miss. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful set of poems and for being here today. I hope you'll stay for the rest of the reading and that you'll come back to hear other people. Our next reader, I have to unearth her bio. I have read with Sonia many times when she used to live here in California. Sonia Greenfield, she, they, is the author of Helen of Troy is High as Fuck, Harbor Editions, All Possible Histories, Riot in Your Throat, Let Down by White Pine Press, and Boy with a Halo at the Farmers Market, Cod Hill Press. A 2024 McKnight Writing Fellow, her writing has appeared in the 2018 and 2010 Best American Poetry, the Southern Review, Copper Nickel, Diode, and elsewhere. She lives with her family in Minneapolis, where she teaches at Normandale College, edits the Rise Up Review, and advocates for neurodiversity and the decentering of the cishet white hegemony. More at her website, which I will put in the chat in just a moment. And while you're waiting for that, Sonia, go ahead and read.
Hello, everybody. Robbi, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I just had this panic where my computer battery was gonna like die for some reason because I let my kid use it and he was draining it with Minecraft. So I hope I don't just disappear on you all. If I do, then I'll be back. I'm just gonna set a timer for myself here so I can kind of keep an eye on things. Oh, it's plugged in. It just wasn't like registering that it was plugged in. I don't know. Anyway, most of the stuff I'm going to be reading is newer. I find myself in the sandwich generation, sort of stuck in between dealing with aging parents and with parenting a teenager. So that's sort of where these poems are located. More or less. Okay, this first poem is called Sundays at Croton Dam. I used to play alone in a sand pit while my mom drank canned Budweiser on blankets with biker friends, and I'd get so dirty I'd have to bathe twice those nights. In a blurry photo, I'm half submerged in earth, dark streak of dirt crossing my face like a grubby Ziggy Stardust, grin of pure innocence wiping my countenance clean. Once at the dam, my hand in hers, we ran into my father, who held another woman's hand in his. This was our first time meeting, in grass so green it squints the eyes, and summer heat that pinned us still under its heavy thumb. It was startling to see some semblance of myself in a stranger's face. Another time I waded into a stretch of running river, its bottom of smooth boulders slickened by erosion and algae, and a broken bottle split my heel. It wasn't that I bled heavily, just that water mixed with blood, one no thicker than the other. This is a new poem. It's called If I Die Before I Wake, I Hope My Dog Eats My Face. I've done it 3 times, picked puppies wet behind the ears to nurture through the gray muzzle years, witness to an entire life lived from start to finish, something profound we can't even do with our children. I don't deny my shepherd's nature when he lunges for a collie squaring off across the street, or when he can't resist the allure of a squirrel twitching through backyard mulch. I, too, am chained to instinct. How often chocolate was in my mouth before a single thought formed. And what about those hollow years when all I hungered for was a sated womb, whether it was good for me or not? Anyway, I've read how pets have picked clean the bones of those who filled their kibble bowls, that when a little lick to rouse can't rouse, and a nervous nip to rouse can't rouse, they become beloved meat. What could be more intimate than devourment? I don't know how I'd end up abandoned by all human devotion and shuffling through rooms of photos rhymed with dust, my daily joy just running a can opener and listening for the click of claws on my ruined wood floors. But if the end comes before those drawn, if the end comes behind those drawn drapes and my dog can't wake me, I hope he eats my face. The pulped metallic twang of it, like love and memory alive in his maw, bloodlust erasing my human arrogance to purify my animal grace. This is called Synonyms for Rage. Like a bear with a thorn in his paw, thick pricker through tender pad, and the animal goes berserk, wrecking instead of thinking how to extract the spine from the blood-slick wound. Boil over, break. He screams and slams the mason jar into a million shards at the top of the stairs. Slivers scatter like shrapnel, and I sob, and he sobs, my son, his legs grown hairy, his feet so wide and ursine. My son usually gentle as a hand that knows how to hold ruin. All night I run the vacuum, every overhead light on, searching for glittering shivs on each step, my sliced foot stamping tiny hearts along the hall floor. Hothead, sea red, not even a tuft of sage grass threading the packed dirt, flies flustering his nostrils, crowd drunk with gore lust, the spangly little man with his cock strut and silly cape, a bull's sudden surge of rage. The blue bowl crashes against the wall, shatters, tomato sauce splattering from floor to windows because it's summer and all he has are Legos and loneliness. My son blows up, erupts, taurine and taller each year. My son, once gentle like a thumb tracing the seam of a stuffed animal, so full of sorry now, he slips from shriek to sorrow to sleep while I scrub away all trace. Walls, rugs, and cushions dripping red, and weep because I know it will take me hours on my knees. Thank you. Okay, this is I had a knife. I had a knife. I know that, but memory is crumpled and details get lost in the folds, and I can't grab it by the corners and shake out the length of it. Eyewitness accounts are rejected because memory shimmers and dissolves and reconstitutes. Was it serrated? Did it have a brown wooden handle and 3 steel rivets? If it did, was it already in my room, or did I run to the kitchen to grab it? If I ran to the kitchen to grab it, wouldn't I have passed close to her room? Would I have come that close? I had a knife, and I crouched in my room. If adrenaline springs like a fountain of holy fuck, how was I stuck between fight or flight? How did the knife get to my hand? Wait, was I in my room? Was I in the kitchen? Was I in the attic hiding behind a damp box of old clothes? Didn't I yell, "Leave her alone"? Did my heart clang in my chest? Is my heart still clanging in my chest all through time from then until now? Was Bobby screaming at my mother? I had a knife, but I was still a child. What could I cut with a cheap steak knife? The skin shape of men filled with the vapor of booze, the skin shape of men filled with the vapor of rotten eggs. Was she in her room and was I crouched somewhere in the house while he broke her against things that break? What did the mirrors sound like as they shattered? Who was crying? Me? My mother? Did I have a knife? Was I a coward? Weakling? Baby? Scaredy cat? Fraidy cat? Chicken? Mouse? Sissy? Pussy? Who had the knife? How did I get the knife? Did I pass near her room? Did I pull it from a kitchen drawer next to her bedroom? If a knife is never used, is it still a knife? If one holds a knife but never slices anything, like steak or the back of a man beating a mother, is the knife imaginary, and is the daughter still a daughter? If the mirror shattered by her mother's head distorts her daughter's face into hundreds of split fragments, how can she put it back together? Just keeping, all right, there we go.
Wow.
This is signs of abuse. I can't recall what I was leaving behind at the junkyard. The memory so patinaed with rust, the scrap heap only twisted cars, and an overwhelming sense of orange encrusted with shards of glass throwing sun around in stabby flares of light. But I do remember the dog, or I remember that his leg was bound with electrical tape, that he was what we now call pit bull before pit bulls ever became culture. What sort of wound would one bind with electrical tape? I wondered whether he slept on old bench seats, spewing their innards from split vinyl, or in the cool dirt under an abandoned chassis. He reminded me of boys I tried to save. Have you ever met a creature that has never experienced kindness? I could tell when I whispered, "Good dog," and bent down to pet his rank fur. He let me know he loved me already by pissing down my leg. Okay, this is called By the Pound. This poem is so starved, it doesn't know where to begin. So it opens with my mother's rubber fuck cancer bracelet, too baggy on a narrow wrist, tattooed with her own mother's name. But my favorite details are captured in a photo, as if a photo can capture and hold anything indefinitely. She took up tap dancing again, reborn with jazz hands, wearing a hot pink t-shirt. How often has her smile reached her eyes like that? Anyway, Florida spits its birds of paradise from the dirt, and gators wend through estuaries bisecting retirement communities. Carnivorous flowers Carnivorous flowers work in the same way, attracting prey with turgid purples and nectar that cloys with decay. I remember how she hissed, "They're killing me," before she even knew. Hurricane Irma stripped her house of its porches, its skirting, its laundry shed, so her husband had no place to take his spoon and lighter. Her other daughter reminds me of the way tropical mosquitoes steal in small doses and offer fever in return. Every itchy welt a reminder of theft. I'm trying to learn the link between weight we take on and what we lose. I look up cortisol, cancer, stress link. It was like her blood went bad. Florida woman drained to death by her own family. When she grew frail, she rejoiced in the exposure of clavicles that broke when she fell. I remember how her mother, the rose etched on her wrist, ate laxatives or hid her body in snap-up house dresses. Like the value of a life can be tallied by the pluses and minuses of a bathroom scale dusted with a thin layer of talcum. I would beg my mother, "Eat, please eat," but her lips would thin into a grim smile. She'd reply, "I'll eat when I'm hungry," and then she'd waste away. Okay, just keeping an eye on where I am with the time. Okay.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I
got about 2 more minutes.
Yep, excellent. Okay. This is called Belongings. Everyone mourns their own way, my sister perseverated, pacing, unable to alight on her own plan. I went with classical, weeping in the shower of an Airbnb in Cocoa. I soaked only once in the hot tub, choosing a bit of business as usual in a Florida fashion. I suppose the palms didn't slant differently, and the only ripples and estuaries were churned by everyday gators. In the condo next door, renters threw a blowout, their enormous speaker throbbing all night against the adjoining wall. As if I could knock and say, "Can't you see we are grieving?" As if they would turn it down and to pour one out for who we lost. Back at our house, because everyone mourns their own way, we parked a dumpster in the driveway. The hands of the pink man who delivered it were cracked, disintegrating. "Skin cancer," he shrugged, picking at a festering hole on the webbing between thumb and forefinger. My sister wandered between piles in the garage, picking up and putting down, unable to start. I wanted to sift carefully, afraid to miss trinket boxes storing my childhood against their torn velvet linings. My brother only wanted one album of ancestors, no photos of our mother pasted to those sticky black pages, no patience for the way things can mean, that each object held the faint print of her fingers. So he loaded box after moldering box into the monster dumpster without looking at what they held. his blue eyes, inherited from her, crystal clear with intention. Okay, I'll finish up with one more short poem. Against the interpretation of dreams. What if the one about losing my teeth was just one about losing my teeth? What if mothers absorb their children's pain, carry it along with their own, and store it like potatoes in the dark cellar of their bodies where the eyes grow awry? Last night, my mother had only faked her death, her cheek wearing the bruise I wore that whole first week after she died. I asked her to come back, but she wanted to be free of all anyone asked of her. What if this is my final step into adulthood, when I can't call my mother to cry about the loss of my mother? Last night, she refused to return to me. She said she'd been waiting so long to finally be on her own. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Sonia. That was beautiful set of poems. Thank you to both of our features today. I thought you'd go together well, and I think you do. And it's wonderful to have both of you, and I hope I've introduced your work to some people who didn't know it, both of you, and to each other. So now we're going to have the open mic, and again, it's full right now. It's a very small open mic because sitting till midnight is not my idea of a good time on online readings, although I love having all of you. It's 5 minutes or 2 short poems, whichever comes first. And our first reader is Marc.
I am terribly moved by Sonia's poems. As I think Sonia will see with the first one I'm reading today, I find that when I write about abuse, I have to do it in form. It's like I can't write it in free verse because it's too painful. So this first poem is a puzzle, and the title of it is Stick a Fork in It. Therapy says memory cures pain. I say curse it. Stick a fork in it. I am restless. My partner can't sleep. Roll over. Stick a fork in it. Don't apologize for darkness. Instead, hold it close enough to stick a fork in it. Daddy's hand grips mommy's throat. Real or nightmare? Stick a fork in it. Face purple, lips blue, throat gurgles. If not a metaphor, stick a fork in it. Call sister, 2:30 a.m. Does she remember? If yes, stick a fork in it. She does. He pushed us away, she says, slammed her against the kitchen counter. She picked up a fork. Mommy lost consciousness. Sister stabs daddy in the thigh. Stick a fork in it. We whimper on the kitchen floor, otherwise silence. Mommy lives, sticks with daddy. Life stuck a fork in us. Marc, I know what silence can do. My sister and I speak. Stick a fork in it. Healing takes time. Pain erases time. Call it rage.
Thank
And
you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
yeah, I
ahead.
got one more quick one because I have to erase that feeling inside me. And this one is set in Monterey Bay. It's called I Watch What I Cannot See. The world said, painting its red-eyed leaves. An otter, wrapped in kelp, floats on its back. Its body animates an offshore band where blue water scarcely ebbs and flows, while ocean crests like lightning, thundering against the granite headland. The otter ignores the force of an ocean meeting a continent. It rolls in the kelp and dies for abalone. I watch and wonder at my final roll through the tumbling surf, the deep dive before my life succumbs to paradise.
Thank you, Mark. Good ending. Our second reader is Judy Kleinberg.
Thank you. And thanks for your wonderful poems. This is a pretty inspiring way to start the day here. I am participating again in the Poetry Postcard Fest, which means that every day you write a short poem on a postcard and mail it off to somebody. So as Doug suggested, never a good idea to read fresh poems, but I'm going to do that anyway. So these are poems that are just waiting to go into the mailbox. There Goes the Sun. Front page headline, the Seattle Times, July 17th, 2025. Hip deep in our catastrophes, we still love the newspaper sky of evening, how it stains our view to remind us of distant volcanoes, fires, the terrible and toxic, awash in colors of flowers and romance. The sun is always somewhere, its heat and blaze scorching the map, sending out auroran tentacles, then rising again into dawn's forgiveness, pastel pale. But who could blame the great yellow orb if it abandoned Earth, turned away in disgust after all its favors, all its warnings, driven off by the hubris of creatures that imagine they are smarter, hotter, more handsome than the sun. And this is another one, fresh today, pretty unedited. It is what it is. LA Blast blares today's Seattle Times headline, eager for blame. Things are always so much easier when we point an accusing finger and go on to the next catastrophe. Easier, of course, is relative, subjective, an adjective of convenience. How many were sacrificed on the path of least resistance? Who might yet be taking another breath if someone had paused, breathed, done the less automatic thing, resisted the seduction of crowdthink? Would I lift the blame from other to I, they to we? Thanks.
Thank you, Judy. Our next reader is Rosemary.
I live in Lima, Peru, now for about 15 years. And I wrote a collection of poems about Peru when I had lived here for about 2 years, when I still saw it raw. By now, I've got used to many things. And these poems don't lighten the mood, sadly. The first one is called Singing They're Dead. And it has been estimated that nearly 70,000 people died in the civil war, the internal conflict in Peru, which started in 1980 and lasted until 2000, reaching into the present. Today, they are singing with high voices, holding pictures of their husbands, sons, brothers, remembered as they died, full of vigor and youth. hauled from their houses by men in uniforms before the sun rose on the Altiplano. Farmers, artisans, students, male children, but mostly young men dangerously full of testosterone. Military or terrorists, they created their own monsters, says one woman. The women want closure for the most important mystery of their lives. They're singing in small voices, surrounding the mass grave discovered only a few months ago. Swaying skirts on sturdy bodies, ponchos, long braids and black hats, gnarled hands. There are no men left in the villages, tears running down dark-skinned furrows. Empty eyes search the mountain tops, the Apu, where God used to live. And the other one is Poinciana and then some. Green canopies, aflame with an unreal red, lit by the dying sun. Johnny in the plastic chair, blue baseball cap pushed back. He's seen it all. Shifts of 12 hours. He's nearly done. Always polite. Smile, Johnny. Help the maid carry that terrible, horrible little dog across the road. The fat senora from 705 needs the trolley for her shopping. The kids from 11-2 who only last week put cucarachas in his portero's hut. Drip seawater in the hall from their wetsuits and surfboards. Not sure how he'll pay the rent he owes since December. Looks forward to the cantina. A few drinks will set him right. His big brown hands fold and unfold, knuckles almost white. He never means to hurt his wife. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose. Our next reader is Mary.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm writing from Florida, and just let that be a background for these poems. Bird watching. Crow on a wire has no time for me. Not a word or glance. He parts his gleaming blue-black feathers like a satin robe, like a cloak of justice worn by some common judge on this iron gray morning, where I wait in this body, shabby and unsteady, unable to balance on my feet even half as well as he does on his wire. While we both know not far from here, black masked armies round up victims for their quotas to fill cages with men like cattle meant to serve their taste for suffering and the comedy of pain in prisons set too far for any hope of rescue or escape. In the ripe wilderness of grass, once holy ground for wild things, now sacrificed as warnings, threats of hungers eager for any unwary, desperate flesh. And I wilt like rain in sorrow, rage, simmering up to flood and punish with despair. Crow is my witness, seeing with his hard, unblinking eyes, while sudden from the side I see two low flying hawks pass, barred wings unfurled to ride the rising air, there and gone so fast I can't follow or see them now, but still can hear their call.
Thank you, Mary.
I have one other short one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, another crow poem. The crows seem to haunt me. It's called Water Exercise. The water was cold. Sylvia said she saw a dead bird outside the door, maybe a crow. I saw the ghost of last night's moon sinking into my hands underneath the water. I said, crows don't die alone like that. But if so, we should wave palms over him, step up out of the pool and sing him a green lullaby he could wake up to. None of it would be our fault. I heard a charter boat captain shot the dolphins who were stealing his customers' fish. I would have paid to see a man of war jelly sting him. I wonder if he came prepared, gun dolphin ready. Wonder if he would draw on anyone. Wonder if we could draw him down, dead beneath the waves, without even a crow to mark his grave. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Our next reader is Gary.
Okay. This first one almost happened. It didn't happen in a cathedral, but in the common room of a cathedral where Treebeard's restaurant in Houston serves lunch. Balloon vanity. And it has a line from Ecclesiastes everybody will recognize. Nothing new under the sun, yet inside the cathedral, balloons the color of new grass drift on AC breezes. Magi out of season, too late for the birthday party, even too late for Easter. The balloons try to follow, but helium dreams get lost in the rush of air, find only stained glass. Losing breath, balloons rock and resist the tug of dust. And the second one comes from an inscription I found in the Diono Elegies in a used bookstore. It's called Old Light. A used bookstore. You walk the narrow aisles, thumb discarded volumes of poetry, chance upon Rilke's Diono Elegies. You pick up the book expecting another translation of dark meditations. Instead, a dedication, a woman's Christmas wish that love would erode the walls of silence, guarding the grottos of her heart. You wonder how 7 years brought this book in dedication to this graveyard of good intentions. Did passion flash incandescent as it died, or gutter and echoing dark? Were the walls she built too thick, too high? Were meditations on death too strange a lover's gift? Like scattered timber and stone, rubble that once was a home, this dedication litters the margin with unanswered questions. A message from the past, it flickers in the shadows, the way light from a faraway star that died before you were born, twinkles without source for years, keeping until the last news of the dark. Thank you.
Brandon.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who's read. This has been quite the treat. Next Sunday will be 4 years since my best friend John passed away. So I miss him every day. I've written some poems for him. Some have gotten published, and I'm working on a chapbook for him. I'm going to read 2 poems here. First one's called Grief. Grief is a heavyweight boxer who's trained his whole life for 12 long rounds with the masterpiece you thought you were building. Prefers haymaker after haymaker, but doesn't discriminate against stiff jabs. Utilizing superior footwork, he always keeps you on the outside of your old life, looking back in. Right when you begin to believe that it might just be time to move forward and smile when you recall the embrace of your brother from another mother and the putrid stench of cigarettes, belly laughing with too many shots of whatever steadied his hand long enough to run the pool table. Grief will sidestep and counterhook, leaving your vision on wobbly knees with the hollow promises of growing old ringing in your ears like the thunderstorms you used to watch. He'll pour it on and push the pace after the contest is over, ignoring any towel your corner threw in with mercy, taunting you with his own Ollie shuffle, hands high in the air, claiming victory and the memory of each soul you burn to hold again. And you'll wipe your vision clear and bite down on your mouthpiece for another go at love. Excuse me.
Oh, what, did you want to read another one?
Yes,
Or-
please. Sorry, I just got a little.
Yeah. Mhm.
Second one's called When We Were Younger. We'd hunkered down like hermits in his open garage, barely beyond the reach of rain, and listen to the footsteps of thunderstorms approach. We'd make up stories the way we imagined children had done down by the river's edge thousands of years prior, with the protection of the forest behind them. Wondering which pantheon of gods were angry with whom, why, and how long they were to war behind the clouds. A lover of myths and stars, I always imagined the thunder was Scorpio's tail slamming into the impenetrable ground where Orion had just been, and because you loved to gamble, you always thought it was two enormous giants, most likely cousins of Odin, who were angry over a hand of poker. You'd say, one's always chasing the other, and 20-something years later, during the best thunderstorms we get, my grief keeps on sitting down at the table with what chips its loving spirit can buy, always chasing.
Thank you, Brandon. I hope you come back. It's lovely to have you on the open mic for the first time. And
Thank
you're
you.
welcome back every month.
Thank you. It's actually the third time, but I just don't,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
not
so
here.
sorry.
It's okay. I just don't make it every month. So, but thanks for having me again.
I host 2 readings, so I guess I forget sometimes. But
Cool.
it's good to see you anyway, and good luck
Thank you.
with that chapbook.
Thank you.
Our next reader is the editor of First Virtual, j.lewis.
I'm going to break from my norm and read something actually positive. I do enough sad stuff. This first poem is called Take It Outside. If you've ever been around boys, any age from about 4 to 90, you'll recognize this phrase, the admonition not to damage things by fighting indoors. And maybe it worked a time or two. But I'm here to tell you people, that phrase is the best advice for pretty much any frame of mind. Happy? Take it outside. Let the sun soak in your smile for a while. Sad? Take it outside. Touch a tree or give it a hug and tell it what's got you down. Angry? Take it outside. Walk and walk some more. Fast at first, then slower as nature shows you her steady calm. Depressed? Take it outside and into a forest where sound is muffled, where flowers and mushrooms and, of course, trees go about their quiet, relentless becoming. Yes, please, take it outside where nature can nurture every mood you bring her. I promise she will leave you better than you were. And I do love being outdoors with my camera. The second poem, really short, was prompted by something that happened after my most recent surgery, which we won't talk about. The poem is called After Anesthesia. Surgery done, still groggy. Someone insistently tells me, breathe, sir, breathe. and I comply, thinking that I am infinitely comfortable under this heated blanket. Outside, galaxies and comets queue up along the loading zone, each waiting like a black hole to ingest sky-weary clients. Inside, my wife waits until someone says, "He's ready," sends her to find me with the vaguest of instructions. "You can't miss it. Go right down there where the wall turns blue."
Wow, I'm surprised she found you. Thank you, and I love that photograph. That is just gorgeous. I'm the last reader, and then we will get off the recording, and if people want to chat or ask questions to our features, they're welcome to do so. I'm first going to share the photograph that inspired this. It's by Vasilis Tangoulis, and the poem is new. It's going to be in McQueen's Quinterly, and it's called Afterlife. Afterlife. At the last, you might find yourself at the mouth of a tunnel, like the ones you witnessed as a child riding on the subway. Lights flickered, then went dark, but you could still make out shadowy figures hanging from ladders. Flashing lanterns, wave of white tile arching overhead. When the train breached the surface, wreathed in steam, you were a hero in an epic emerging from the underworld. There have been other tunnels. Sometimes on your trips to visit cousins in New York, in your father's turquoise Chevy, you descend into the Holland Tunnel beneath the Hudson. The radio signal sputtered as you drove in, blinking back loud brightness, cars nosing forward like trout. But no one got the bends. Years later, you hiked under an overpass in Honolulu where tropical dusk enveloped you, the aroma of frangipani and soft moths opening into the light of noon at the other end. They say a warm light awaits after the final darkness. Some proclaim they saw a ramp ascending into clouds, like the one Moses climbed. Or else there might be this rough wooden pier suspended over nothing, milky sea of fog or cloud, slender wooden walkway that just stops. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to our features for honoring us with your presence and reading your wonderful work. I'm going to get off the recording, but you're welcome to stay here, chat, and ask a couple of questions.